the guys stopped playing pool, came over, listened. There was one girl who was like in the back of the crowd who slowly made her way up all the way to the stage. And I just remember after I got off and she came up and she was like in tears. And I'm like, oh, I said something I shouldn't have. Like, I'm freaking out.
You thought
like,
you hurt her feelings?
I was like, I'm sorry. Like, do I need to buy you alcohol? I have weed. What do you need? And she came up to me and she was like, oh my gosh, I've been dealing with cancer and I have jokes about cancer. And she was like, I haven't been able to laugh about that. She's like, it felt so good to be able to laugh about it. She's like, because I've just been dreading it for months.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's why I remember why I do it. It's having the jokes that are hard to palate, that make somebody want to talk about something, or even just make you not feel as bad about it for a few seconds.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Medium Podcast. It's your host, Melissa Nami.
And it's me, Connor.
And for today's guest, we have comedian, podcaster, and writer, Stefanie Michele.
Hi.
Hey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy gal.
Yeah.
You wear many hats.
Yes, I do.
I
don't know. Like, which hat would you like me to start with?
Let's start from the beginning. Because I think you're very funny.
Thank you.
You know, that's the hat that I see you wear the most, is the comedian hat.
Yes.
And you have this thing about you where you take a lot of life's events and things that people would consider typically not funny.
Yes.
And you make them so tangible for people to let their guard down and laugh with you at these things.
I appreciate that so much.
It's a really cool way that you're able to because you're deconstructing people's insecurities around like laughter. You know what I mean? Because if you don't, I mean, we'll talk about it, right?
Yeah.
But the stuff that you're able to make funny is, to me, freaking awesome.
Thank you. My big thing when I started comedy, when I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to get on stage. I have stage fright. Like, actually, I've had full-blown panic attacks on stage. So I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I can't be on stage and also think about trying to put on some different persona. So I'm going to have to be as vulnerable as possible.
Yeah.
And with that vulnerability, I was like, okay, now I have to take these really shitty events and make them palatable. Because I'm like, I want to be able to laugh at the fucked up things because then I can at least think on what I'm doing about that situation.
So let's start from the beginning. What do you think makes you that kind of person? Because that's what I'm so curious about. Like, because the way, Medium podcast, we're trying to find out like how you express yourself, and I feel like certain routes you've taken, because like you're a Marine Corps vet.
I am.
There's things that make you tougher than your average chick, and I'm curious if those are part of that. Like how do you say, like the building blocks?
I definitely think so. I think all the choices and mistakes I've made have made it so that I'm much more comfortable with my mistakes now. And I think even when becoming a mom, like I wanted my kids to be like, okay, you can take a mistake, you can take a bad situation, and you can learn from it. So I like try to learn from it with laughing at it. My daughter tends to go the same exact route as me, and she's hilarious, but I can kind of like, okay, this is who she's been raised around. So she's a smidget of an asshole, which I'm proud of. I'm like, you want your daughter to be a little bit of an asshole.
Does she ever catch you with zingers? You're like, whoa.
Oh, all the time. Like, she's 13 right now, and like she says things, and I'm like, I don't want to laugh at that, but that was really freaking funny. And like I can even give examples of something she said the other day, which I'm like so proud and mad that it came out of her, because my brother is my brother's gay, and it's just like a fact in our lives. Like, it's not a huge deal. It's relevant to the story though. So for some reason, a lot of my stories start with JFK. I have a weird fascination with history. So I was explaining like some book about like a JFK assassination to my brother, and then like went on a tangent about his sister that needed a lobotomy. And my daughter looks up and she goes, what's a lobotomy? And my brother goes, oh, it's when they took part of your brain out and basically turned you into a vegetable. And
13 years old, she asked this?
Yes.
Cool.
She asked some of the best questions ever. And so she says, and so he's explained, like, yeah, they pretty much makes you a vegetable. And she goes, and they don't do it anymore? And he goes, no, not really. And she goes, oh, that's good, because you couldn't do it, because you couldn't be a fruit and a vegetable at the same time. And I'm like, and my brother's just like, I'm pretty sure that was a hate crime. I'm like, it might have been. my test. I'm like, I'm so annoyed and proud.
What's that saying? Like, she is her mother's daughter?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
She's me and earlier than I was.
Yeah.
So, like, insanely smart. So, yeah, the questions that come out of her mouth they're always interesting. Like,
Yeah.
my friends will like to talk to her because they just were like, what is your opinion on this? I'm like, please don't ask my child about drugs. And then she gets in the car and she's like, Mom, what is your opinion on alcohol? And I'm like, okay, wait, what? I'm like,
Who
okay,
asked you this?
I'm like, all right, let's have this conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty open with the kids.
how many kids do you have?
I have two. So
Cool.
I have a 13-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son.
Is your son, does he have the same type of sense of humor as your daughter?
A little bit. He's a little bit more timid, so it doesn't come out as often.
Yeah.
And he's also much more of my people pleaser. So he doesn't want to upset somebody, but when it does come out, they're hilarious also. And I'm just like, I'm very proud that they're both witty and also have a vocabulary to express it in a like entertaining way. So I'm like, okay, they keep me on my toes.
A lot of people don't realize like that humor and a lot of stuff like that does come easier when you have the vocabulary for it, or like the vernacular. If you read books, or if you're well versed in comedy or film or whatever the heck, and you're like, you become a wordsmith,
Yeah.
right?
And I think that's so important, especially doing comedy, like
Yeah.
having a different way to express the same thought
Yeah.
can make it so much funnier. Just changing the word to kind of add a different punch is just, I don't know. I love watching comics kind of change their vocabulary of a joke as they try to learn it.
Yeah. Were you like a goofball when you were in the service?
No, I'm actually, so even in school, everything, I was always really quiet, like pretty timid, but everybody around me always got in trouble for laughing. So it was like, I wasn't like the class clown, but if you were at my table, you were hearing some stupid shit, like on a pretty regular basis.
But you were able to keep it together?
Yeah. I was just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to make this stupid comment and like just disassociate while we're doing this lesson. And even in the Marine Corps, like that was how it would be, like say stupid questions, or I would get in trouble I pissed off my drill instructor so many times for just asking a question. And then they would be like flustered, and then I would ask it and I would just annoy the hell out of them just for fun.
You did it on purpose.
Yeah. And then I would end up paying for it, but that was usually, it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. So.
Did you enlist right after high school?
No, I didn't. I waited a few years. So my mom got sick right after when I was in high school. So I wanted to stay local to be with her. And I initially wanted to go into the Coast Guard. And so I started working at my associates, and then from there, my mom was in a little bit better place. I decided to join. I went to go join the Coast Guard. The recruiter was a dick, and so I walked out. I took my ASVAB with them, and then I basically took my scores over to the Marines. Well, initially I went into the Navy. I knew I wasn't going into the Army because my grandfather, who I don't really appreciate as a person, was in the Army, so couldn't follow his footsteps.
Yeah.
That's not allowed. And it was, I went into the Navy office, and the guy was so overweight that I was like, this isn't a good representation. So I walked out and I went into the Marines. And then kind of
That guy was in shape.
It was, yeah, it just was like, I was like, you can't be like, we're going and being like this life-saving force, and this is going to be the person you're having represent you. And
You want someone who practices what they preach.
Exactly.
Yeah, 110%. I've always thought that was always funny, like when you see the fat cop or whatever.
Yeah.
You're like, I could do crime and run away super fast.
You're like, I just need to know your route, and then I'm good.
Just pump fake them real quick. That's really cool that you've always been able to kind of be, I'd say, lighthearted.
Yeah.
Because I'd say the Marine Corps is a pretty tough. You just moseyed on over. You're like, Coast Guard, nope. Navy, nope. You're just going from one tough thing to the next.
Yeah. And I know my dad was like, he's like, you're joining to break the branch from the inside, because I was super liberal. And I was like, yeah, but I also believe that I love the fact that we have the ability to say it, like freedom of speech and all of that. Like, I deeply believe in that.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm going to fight for that. I don't have to fight for the parts. Like, you have to kind of take it all, like the good and bad. And so I was like, well, I'll do this. And so I went in, and then he was like, you wouldn't even survive in the Coast Guard. And so when I went to the Marines, he's like, you do great. You would do great. Like, you can just quit now. Like, he tried to have somebody propose to me to get me to quit. He
What does
even
that
like
entail? Trying to get someone to propose to you?
it was
To
a
be
guy that he knew had a crush on me, and so he was like, if you ask her with a pretty enough ring, she might say yes. And I like look at my dad. I'm like, at what point would that be the enticing feature? Like, if you're gonna be like, you can give her an entire studio that she can do whatever she. That might have made me stay.
Yeah.
Like, but a ring, really? No.
You're like, you don't even know me at all, Dad.
It was It was. My dad is an interesting person.
So you rebelled
Yes.
and you enlisted anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Baddie.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was fun. I loved it.
Do you feel like that has a lot to do with how you are shaped today?
Yes. You definitely learn how to take life like just as is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get a lot of say. Marines are actually really funny. There's a lot of sarcasm. It's definitely, if you ever think of like a traditional boys club of just shit talking, like it is.
The fellas.
It's what it is. And
Yeah.
they don't really care if you signed up and you're a female and it's all the same.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated. I didn't want to go in and being like, get catered to, which I understand that some people do. And I get that. I was happy that I felt like I got the same treatment as everybody else, regardless.
Yeah, you wanted to be seen as an equal.
Yeah. Like, I worked hard at what I did to be seen that way. And so it was, but I had a great time. There's parts of it that sucked. Like, there's not a way to say that there wasn't. But.
Of course.
Yeah.
Any hard toughened institute like that, especially like the kind of environment that you guys were in, you know what I mean? I'm assuming, did you get deployed?
I didn't get deployed. So so when I got out to, was in Japan for a while. I was out there,
Tight.
Which was amazing.
Yeah. Tight. What?
Especially when you're not a white male living in Japan, things are so much easier for you.
And that's being stationed
Out there. I was living out there. So I was out there for 2.5 years. So I was in Okinawa.
How neat. Did you like that?
I loved it. I love food everywhere. So just getting to go like walk up to places and try different foods. Getting to try Mexican food in Japan was hilarious because you walk in and there was like a sign saying the Japanese people don't like sour cream. If you would like sour cream on your food, feel free to bring your own.
Oh my god!
Like that's just like a sign walking in. You're like, I don't like sour cream either. Like we're good.
Yeah.
Like I'm with the Japanese today.
Put a full ass sign like that.
Yes,
That's
it was
crazy.
like a nice like printed like I was like this is amazing. I'm for
How
it.
often do they get asked for sour cream?
I know. I'm
I
curious.
don't know. Apparently enough to be like just look at the sign. Like,
It's funny too, like when they can make an assumption for their entire population.
Yeah.
Like we just don't like it.
yeah, us as a people, no.
I used to work with a girl who was from China, and we worked by a Cinnabon, and one time I brought cinnamon rolls over, and I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. You've never had it. And she took a bite, and she's all, this is disgusting. She looked it up. She's all butter and cinnamon. She's all sugar and cinnamon. She's like, the only thing we like is the sugar. Like she said Chinese people don't like cinnamon, I guess, yeah. Like it's not an ingredient they use on pastries.
That's I'm always so intrigued about how food changes
Yeah.
from one place to the next, like even from one state to the next. Like
100%. Oh, this girl was a kook, dude. She would naturally, like she was crazy. She would eat the Final Dab, you know, from Hot Ones.
Yeah.
Just casually. You know that one
Yeah.
podcast, the guy, and the one that everyone's like, she just put it on her hot, like, oh yeah, she was so good. She was different with food.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm jealous of people that can handle spice. I can't.
Oh my God, I thought she could be like a superhero or something. Like you could be on TV for
Spice
that.
Girl. Oh wait, that's
Yeah.
already a thing.
It's a minor thing.
So you lived in Japan for 2 years?
Yeah, 2.5 years I was out there, so it was a blast.
And then after that?
I was stationed in Pendleton, and I got to Pendleton. My unit that I was with out there had their roster come out before I even got to them, so there was no chance of me going on the roster out to Afghanistan at that point. And so I just remember I looked at my staff sergeant at the time, and I was like, well, I'm trying for a kid.
Yeah.
And so, lo and behold, now I have my daughter. So,
Congratulations.
Yeah, so she was all excited. I showed her, she has some certificates from like the Marine Corps saying that she was a Marine Corps baby.
Aw.
And she was like, I'm going to cherish these. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, that's great. You can have them. So she's all excited. And then my son, who's like super like the one who wants to be in the military. And he's like, do I have anything? And I'm like, no, you came after. Sorry.
You're all loser.
He's like, You were born in Oregon. It got different for you.
When did you start teaching?
After that, I got out. My ex-husband is from Oregon, so we moved up there for a few years. And like living in like our house was like $500 a month, like utilities included. We lived on well water, so it was like, that was amazing. It was like a 1-bedroom homestead. We had acreage behind us. There was
Homestead.
a lake. Yes, yeah. I was not expecting ever to be a phrase that I would say.
I see Steph as like a traditional wife right now.
I learned
have
how to
churn
make
the butter.
jam. I never did that, but I did learn how to make jam because why not?
What's the way when you do the laundry on the?
No, we had a washing machine. Okay, but we did.
You said homestead.
There was add-ons. We did have like the original base of the house, and you could tell where that was and where the rest of the house was added onto it after.
No, that's cool.
But like, yeah, it was interesting to the point where my brother-in-law would show up to the back of the house and being like, "Can I pluck this goose back here?" And I'm like, "This is not anything I ever thought I was gonna live with ever." So yeah, then I moved up there. Started going to school when I was up there in Oregon, and then we came back down here. Started teaching at the same time that my divorce started. So it was kind of like a all crazy whirlwind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Damn. And here you are now.
Yeah.
And you teach
high school science.
Whoa, high school?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, I can't do the littles. They scare me. I
can't look them in the eyes.
they're so okay, this is the thing. It's when you're with the big kids, you're mentally or emotionally drained, but when you're with the littles, you're like physically drained. And like there's something, I love that that's what they're little people. Like, and also like they can make you feel great about yourself and like horrible at the same time. Like they would come up and you'd have one and be like, "You look so pretty today." And you're like, "Oh, thank you." And then the next one, like, "What's wrong with your face?" And you're like, "Well, probably you." Like, it's like, like when
Would you say you little punk ass bitch? Just
like, well, it's
crazy.
And then I was with middle school for a long time, and I've joked about my middle school students because those are my ones that were. They were wild. I love middle school though. They're
that transitionary period.
Yeah, like somebody said that you work with the little. I'm gonna keep saying little.
I like it. I'm gonna giggle every time. It's not gonna get old.
Yeah, like you do that if you want to work with because you love children, and you work with like high school because you love the subjects, and you work with middle school because you love making connections with kids. And that's my favorite thing to do. So I'm with high school. I love my high schoolers. They're great. I love seeing them transition up through college, and like I couldn't be more proud of the steps they're taking. But there's like a different level of connection when you get to go. Like I still have some of my middle schoolers that have will come and be like, "Hey, can you come watch me graduate like high school? Can you come see me? Like I'm in this tournament for jiu-jitsu." I had one of my girls like came out to me. I've had kids come up and like open up like in such a different way, and to feel like you're that safe place for somebody, especially when you know a lot of kids don't have that, is just like such an awesome experience. Like I was blessed to, for the most part, have a very safe home, but I got to see my friends that didn't, and it's just like you don't ever want to see somebody go through that.
Yeah.
And so I sit there and my job is to teach them and to laugh with them and to help them figure out who they are.
How cool. I could imagine you were like, I'm just going back to 17-year-old Melissa, and I'm imagining having you as a teacher. You're probably the cool teacher.
I think there's a couple of us. I got a pretty cool staff. I really appreciate my coworkers, but like, yeah, there's definitely a couple kids that, like they gravitate to you. Like I had a student that won an award for they did a film festival at the Aquarium of the Pacific last year. And so it was cute because I get a call and she's like, "I'd really invite you, but you only get so many tickets. And I have a really big family." I'm like, "No, take your family." She's like, "But there's a live stream." And I was like, "Got you, watching it." So I'm like watching this live stream.
You're so supportive. That's awesome.
And it was just so cute because she was like, and then she like thanks me for like being helping her like with everything and just supporting her. And I'm just like, okay. Aww. Like it's those moments that you're like, because all the other times when I'm like, F this, I don't want to do this anymore. And then you have those and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna say, I got this. Like they, as much as like I feel like I help them, I think they also do the same in return.
That's sweet. High school is so, what's the word, formative? Mm-hmm. And to not only, because I'm assuming like you have a lot of kids that confide in you because you're cool. You're cool. Like
I think I just talk to them like people.
Are teachers younger now in high school? Because we had older teachers in high school.
There's like a variety. So like there's a pretty good age range. I'm not the youngest,
Yeah.
but I'm nowhere near the oldest.
Yeah,
I'm like
yeah.
kind of definitely in the younger range. But there's just like that relatability. But that relatability is also so scary because then when kids feel like you're too much like their buddy, then they feel like that they can have boundaries that they can cross too.
Oh, yeah, true.
So that's scary. Like I had a student last year that I had to get to a point where I had to keep my hair up. I couldn't even wear my hair down because if I wore my hair down, he'd be like, "You look really pretty today. You look like," and it was just like, it was to the point where it was just like, okay, this is being commented on too many times. And then he was like, "You can give me your phone number," and I was like, "That's not gonna happen."
Yeah.
And I had to call my and get like my administrator and be like, "I can't. Like this is now at a place where I don't feel safe."
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that this is kind of, there's a lid on this.
That's crazy.
And then I found out that it was like a kid that was like, I get it. Like I hear way too many kids that shoot their shot with teachers and it works. Like, so really, that's scary.
Damn. Shoot their shot with damn.
I had friends, like, did you guys have any friends that ever slept with their teachers or like counselors and stuff? I had friends that slept with like multiple teachers.
Nobody would have told if I did. No one would have told me.
I didn't know then.
I'm a square. Like I would what like.
Yeah, none of my friends would have told. I didn't know then. I knew years later, and they're like, "You didn't catch any of the signs," and I'm like, "I am horrible with people. Like, at what point do you think I would catch any of those signs?"
They would have told Connor though.
I mean, I know of a few people, but not at our school.
Oh.
Yeah,
You
not
got
at our
so
school.
excited.
I know. I was like, well, bleep it.
You're like, say all their names right now.
I
And
wouldn't
the
be able to
teacher
wait.
Associated.
I wouldn't be able to wait till the end. No, we would just bleep it for sure. What the?
I have ideas, but I wouldn't name names. That would be
Not for the
that'd be a
ideas.
crazy thing to
Yeah.
do.
But the confirmed ones name names.
Yeah, I have no
Like,
confirmed. No.
No.
Oh,
confirmed.
okay.
Kids are crazy though, because like my sister's a teacher too, and one year a kid photoshopped because like from the yearbook photos, a
Yeah.
kid took one of the photos of like her with one of the other teachers, like had her arm around her, and he photoshopped himself with his arm around, and it was like two of her lady colleagues, like they were chaperoning
gosh.
something, and he photoshopped it like as if they went to prom together. And it was so weird. It was so badly photoshopped too. Like my
Yeah.
sister's like, look at this fucking,
You're
look
like,
at this shit.
if you're gonna make this uncomfortable, at least do a good job.
Yeah, like-
solid work. That's it.
It looked like one of those magazines.
Oh my god,
cutouts.
that's almost hilarious. Please tell me she kept it
I
somewhere.
think she has it. I'll ask her for it.
You being like, you have to keep the good things your students give you and the really creepy things. Like you need a balance.
Do your kids know that you have like? Do your kids know you do comedy?
They do. My kids have been to shows. They've been to clean shows.
Yeah.
And it was funny because like even a few years ago, I was running a show in a comic book store and I couldn't find a sitter that night. So I was like, well, you guys are coming, which they were down because there was comics.
Cool.
So my daughter's like, can I buy Pokemon cards? And I was like, absolutely, you
Hell
can.
yeah.
Like, that's fine. So we're in the comic book store. So they both have their tablets. I'm like, you guys can play whatever game you want. I don't even care right now. Put your headphones on. Keep your headphones on. And it was funny. The entire audience, they're like, every single time, because I was hosting, they're like, every single time you walked up, you could just hear your daughter pop one headphone out. And then as soon as you came back or you would look at her, she would just kind of do this, like, so you couldn't see. And I'm like, yeah, no, she's evil.
She was trying to get away with it.
But I'm like, but she's, it was a clean show. So it's like, I was okay with everything she heard there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want her to hear the non-clean shows. That would be bad.
Imagine.
Not ready for that yet. But yeah, so they've been to shows. They're fully on board with it. They've been in meetings when I've been with different venues. So my daughter sat there when she was like 8 and she would take notes on like the event planning process.
Yeah.
Because then she was like, I'm curious if this is something that I'm interested in as a job. And I was like, okay. And then my sister called her a Nepo baby, which was like the nicest thing my sister could say. But like, so she's thought about that. Yeah. So they're very on board.
Do your students know you do?
No. Okay. Some do.
She keeps it a secret.
That's it. I had one of my coworkers one time that was like, oh yeah, and Miss N does comedy. And I was like, why would you do that? And then
They
one of the
ratted you
boys-
out to the students?
in front of all of them. We had like all the middle, and this was middle school, and that's
Asshole.
not who you want. And one of the boys is like, you should roast me. And I'm like, I'm not going to make a child cry today.
Yeah.
Like that's not on the menu. But every now and then, like I would say something to that class after they found out, and like they'd be like, oh, it's funnier now that you know she does this. And I'm like, you guys really? Like, there's one of the boys who's like, I'm just joking. And I was like, then it should be funny because nobody's laughing right now.
Did they tell other kids?
Yeah, the younger students ended up finding out. And then, like, that was actually my last year that I was with middle school. So my high schoolers didn't know. But it was just funny because, like, some of the kids were like, I heard you're really funny in class. And I was like, yeah, no, I make stupid jokes to keep myself awake. Like, that's for me. If you guys laugh, it's just an added bonus. And so, yeah, and it became a thing, like, at the school, so all the schools. So every now and then I'll get a student that's either was one of my students then or had a sibling that was, like, associated.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, oh. And I'm like, please don't. And they're actually pretty good about it. They seem to be.
Give you an extra hall pass.
They're very respectful. Like, if they're pretty chill. If you just be like, hey, dude, can you not? And they'll be like,
Yeah.
okay. I'm like, thank you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Makes them feel like you guys got like, what's up, homie? Like,
Yeah. No, then they tell you more too. And I'm like, all right, cool. We're on board. Like, you find out all the chisme that way.
have you ever been in that situation where one of your students, like after they graduate, you're just doing a show and you're like, oh shit, I see little Brian in the.
No, but I've had parents in audiences before. And I didn't know until after.
Before or after parent teacher conference, like you knew them, or were they like, oh hey, we met you last week?
It was before. I've met students that their students who were coming into my class like the following year or within a year or so. So like I had parents that knew I did comedy before I even had their kids, and they'd be like, hey, can I come to more shows? And I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna tell you like when they are until your student is out of my class.
Yeah.
But most of my oldest kids are just like now 21.
Oh, okay.
So, or no, maybe 22. Like, so I should now just start running into them.
Yeah, just maybe.
And I'm hoping, and I've
around the area.
And luckily a good chunk of them have changed. So I wouldn't actually that might be bad. I won't recognize them, but I look the same. So they'll recognize me. So it's not good.
after, no, I mean, that is good.
Yeah.
That's good. You're aging well.
I think I'm okay.
Yeah, you're good, girl. That's a great thing. I like that you don't say your name on whatever on stage. But like I said earlier, when I was looking up Stefanie Michele, I kept on getting Full House clips.
That's like my whole childhood.
Is that like an issue for people before?
I've heard it before, but usually I'll just be like, hey, I'll send you anything you want.
Yeah.
And I think that usually stops it. But yeah, I've the perks of my mom being a child. Like, my mom was a teenager when she had me, so I think she just went for the basic names, and Stefanie and Michele went. Like, they won. So it works.
So we're done with the building blocks. What the heck got you doing comedy?
It was a dare. So 100%
sick.
my cousin does comedy. So if you know Esmeralda Villalobos.
Yes.
So that's my baby cousin.
Oh, okay, very cool.
I say baby cousin. She's like 3 years younger than me.
That's your baby cousin.
It's my baby cousin. So I went to go see her. She had been doing comedy for a while, and she went to Flappers in Claremont. And at this point, I was still married. And she was like, hey, can you come see me? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I was like, I just went to go see her.
Yeah.
And she's like, you should do this. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I thought she meant another day. This asshole went and signed my name up like on the spot. And then they come up and they're like, oh, if it's your first time doing comedy, you go first. And I'm like, what in the F are you, why? Yeah. And so they're like, we only have 3 minutes. But I'm like, yeah, but we're starting in like 6 minutes. So what? Like, so I'm like, okay. So I'm like sitting here, like trying to think like on the spot of something to say. My son was trying to poop a square earlier that day, which just made me laugh that he was trying to mold his butt. He was playing Play-Doh and he's like, I could do this. Like I couldn't. And then I did some joke about the military. But I went up and I did it. And I remember the guy got off stage and he's like, so how much time do you have? And I was like, 3 minutes. And he's like, how long have you been doing this? And I was like, 3 minutes. And he's like, you should do it again. And I was like, okay. Didn't come back for months because that's when like my divorce started, and then I was like,
well, no, I'm not clapping at the divorce.
No, clap the divorce. Clap the divorce. We're happy for that too. Thank you.
Loud one, but that's fucking dope that you went up on the spot, nothing ready, and you did well. Nux.
Thanks. Yes,
Let's
it was. So my cousin was like, "So I thought you'd be good at this," and I'm like, I don't need this kind of support. Like,
She's just like, I believed in you. It's like one of those you teach a kid how to swim by just throwing them in the pool.
basically, that's 100% how my entire family learned how to swim. So
Yeah.
this makes sense of how I would start comedy. But yeah, that's how it started. And then it just kind of seemed to fit.
Yeah.
I was at that time going to mics more and stuff like that, and just kind of jumped in once like I took that couple months of like,
Yeah.
do I want to actually try this? And yeah, then it's kind of been going ever since, and that's been 7 years now.
Hell yeah. I
So-
love that. I've known you for 2 years
Yes.
now. So I do remember the first time we interacted, you said, "Oh, I'd love to get you on my show, but I do clean shows." And then I was like, "Oh shit, I really don't think I could do a clean show." It was the first time I've ever thought about it. It got me real introspective.
I loved it. So, but the very first time I saw you, I remember because like that show that we were on was not a great show, I would say.
It was the
overall.
Hesperia show, right?
No, it was
Which
in the
one are you-
barbershop.
Okay, because there was that.
We did another show in Hesperia after.
Girl, that first year of comedy for me, it was like
blurs.
I had you, like we were on maybe like 8 different shows
Yeah.
together.
I
was fun.
remember that first show, and because I remember like I was at that point
I
of like
remember that
listening to the
barbershop show.
comics and like being like, the room wasn't having it. The comics just like everybody just seemed off, and I was like at the point when I want some. And my brother at that time lived in that apartment complex above the barbershop,
cool.
so my kids were like feet away from us.
Yeah.
So like I was about to walk out just to like text them to be like, "Hey, you guys good?" And then you started, and I don't remember what it was, but it was one of those like, "Oh, I want to listen to the rest of this." And I sat there and I just remember coming up and telling you, like, I want you to come on a show. And as soon as that show got churned where it was no longer cleaned, you were one of the first people I called.
Oh, nice.
Because I just appreciated your sense of humor so much.
Can I ask what that phone call was like? They're like, "We're down for the F word now." Like,
It was like,
I'm just curious.
It was because it had been one of those things. I was joking with them and I'm like, "Hey, let me do a dirty night and see
Yeah.
how the room feels about it." And they're like, "Okay, we'll try it." And I was like, so I got a couple comics that I was like, okay, these are good comics that I know are stable, that hit every time. And so I called them up. They did the show, and then he was like, "All right, you can bring
Dirty
everybody." And I was
works.
like, yes. Okay, cool. I had people that were on my mind that I'd wanted to bring out that were hesitant about a clean show. And yeah, you were the first one that I called out.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
I think that's such a funny like transition for a venue. Like it's a cool one to make, but it's like, like because a clean show, it's like that's morals, it's upright.
Yeah.
And then the second you let us say whatever we want to say, morals go out the door. What are those?
It does make sense for Norco to have a clean show. Like that does.
It does.
It does make sense.
It does.
But it's also funny because when I was like asking some of the audience, and I'm like, "How do you guys feel if it's no longer a clean show?" And they can say, "Hey, whatever they want."
Yeah.
And they're like, "I think we can handle it."
Yeah.
Like they were like, we can do this. And I'm like, "Okay. All right, we're going to try this." And so it was a fun transition. And
Imagine the first night a lady faints. She was like, "Oh."
oh my gosh, I have had people be like, "People shouldn't joke about that." And I was like, or you can just kind of not laugh. It's okay. You don't laugh, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
You walk out, that's cool too. You shut down an entire show because you're pissy that somebody made a comment about something that you don't feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
You take the stick out of your ass. I'm sorry.
How long have you been producing shows?
Pretty quick after I started. So within a year, and it's so funny. So shout out to Johnny Gold, because I heard what he said on your podcast, and it was like one of the sweetest things. I had to message him and being like, "You just made my heart happy."
I'll ask about that too, if that's something you...
I'm okay with it. So he said that I started the buddy system, and I want to clarify, I did not.
Okay.
There were already 2 founding members that were running it at one venue. They happened to lose that venue, and I found another venue.
Okay.
And so I brought them in because I was like, I'm brand new to producing. And so then I got brought into the buddy system.
They jumped you in, right?
Yeah, there was a whole process. There was a slight beating and balloons. It was great. So
That could be the name of your rap album.
you know.
Beatings and balloons.
That sounds like so many other issues from childhood. It got dark so fast. But like, yeah, so I started running the show at the Getaway at UCR. And
I know that place.
And so, yeah, we started there. And then Hideaway came back. So then we're just like running shows together. We started doing shows at the Fox. It did have a falling out with them, but I was like, I'm on the legal documents for like when they had an LLC. So I need to find out whatever happened with that. Like if my name got removed, and like I should ask. I'm also just lazy and don't fully care. So as long as there's nothing like illegal, I'm good with it.
Hey, George.
Hey, George. Let me know what happened. That'd be great. But yeah, so like we did have a falling out over some like things, and it was just like, you know what? I have no ill will towards them whatsoever. Like George has come back and run sound for me a few times.
I see you at the Buddy System mics.
Yeah, I've gone to Buddy
It's
System
always a
mics
treat
and
when
shows.
I see you at the mics.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. Like,
I'm always like, yeah, she was able to come out.
I know. I'm like, there's no scouts tonight. I could be there.
Yeah.
So it was just like, yeah, it was just, we didn't work together as producers. I don't think we have the same vision in comedy, which is fine. You find out as you're doing stuff, like as you're producing, like who you can work with, who you can't work with. I was very fortunate because when I had that falling out with them, like it wasn't even like a F you guys. It was just like, no, like we need space from each other.
It was amicable.
It was very amicable.
Yeah.
I think for some people outside looking in, they were pissed. And I was like, I don't think any of us really ever got that serious about it on the inside. But I was super fortunate. So when that breaking off happened, that I had Nick Lanny there. And so that's how mine and his producing kind of started together. Because I was like, hey, I need somebody that I trust as a person and I like to be around. Do you want to run sound for me for this show? And so he started running sound for me over at Sons of Liberty, which was in the same spot as Grey Wolf.
Is that the name before Grey Wolf?
That was the name before Grey Wolf. Those owners left to move to Tennessee because they were tired of the political climate of California.
Ooh.
So that's a lot to unpack. But so then
Lots of people were doing it.
yeah. So even like the first few mics
Everybody's
over there,
doing it.
it's you jump onto a fad. I get it. But yeah, so like the first few mics, George even helped me with the sound there while I was getting everything situated, and then transitioned Nick in, and then and then that kind of was all that wrote.
Nick was the best. Rest in peace.
Yeah, no, that's been since then it's been a hard transition still.
You're still doing the show though.
So the show, we actually just took a hiatus. So the venue kind of needed to kind of build up their revenue again. We're going to be switching it to an open mic actually. Cool. So once a month open mic. And it's going to be, I'm actually going to have Sandy Seas and Timmy Maldonado jump in, and they're going to be the ones kind of facilitating the mic for a little bit. As much as I love that venue and I love Chad as an owner, like he's an amazing beer maker, like an amazing just dad, human being. Appreciate working with him. 100%. I think I need a little bit of space from that room for just a little bit to kind of let myself heal. Because I went straight right back into being a show right in there. Yeah. And it's every time it's gotten a little bit easier, but I'm like, I think if I give myself a little bit of a breather, I can heal a little bit more. Yeah. Of course. Yeah, we're taking a little bit of break, but we'll be back soon.
Yeah, that's good. Let's go podcasting first. You've had a few.
So I've had two. Well, yeah. So that I did, and then there's both of them. I keep getting. So one of them is still kind of we're going to bring it back officially.
Okay.
And then the other one, I keep having people say that I should bring it back because I still have listeners for that one.
Okay, which one's the coming back and which one's the should?
So the officially coming back is Reckless Nerd.
Okay.
Which I love doing that because it's not really focused on the comedy aspect of it. It's purely focused on just being a nerd and like all the facets of that. Like one time we were talking about, and at the time my co-host was Frank Martinez. He then went on to work on other projects, and I know he's just had a special, and I'm super proud of all of his growth in comedy.
Yeah, Frank's the man.
So I'm like, but yeah, he had a lot of time constraints. I had a lot of time constraints. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to kind of recalibrate how we're running this.
Yeah.
And kind of find a team to do it instead. And then the one that I want to bring back, but I need to kind of make sure I have the bandwidth for it, is Finding the Funny. And that one was comedy based. And that one I loved doing because I got to take a comic set, take out like 3 jokes from it, and then break down those jokes and why the comic wrote those specific jokes or which ones they felt were iconic to who they were.
Would people send you bits?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I'd be like, yeah, send me a couple of your jokes. And then we'd actually like play them out and then be able to talk about them. And so it'd be like, send me jokes that you're okay people hearing that are recorded.
Sounds like a great exercise for practice for everybody as well.
And it would be, because you'd be talking about something and you hear, like, as you're talking it through with somebody else and talking about like the story behind it, you sometimes remember something that you didn't think about. And then I remember people,
Boom,
like, the joke changes.
Yeah.
And like, because like jokes evolve so much. So even like talking to somebody, they'd be like, oh yeah, but that's like the 5th version of that joke that I wrote. Like when I started, I was over here, and getting to see that growth. And I even had one person that sent me both versions of a joke. And that was really, really
Were you
cool.
able to tell which one came second? Like which one was the more refined version?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Like, this is just the baby. And this is the big one.
I love it when you see those jokes and you hear a joke and you're like, oh, I remember that joke, but I remember when it sucked and now it's doing great.
I remember when it wasn't funny. So those are your 2 podcasts.
Yes.
Why do I remember one where you were like getting crazy stories?
Okay, so Lily was doing one and I was jumping in with her occasionally.
Okay,
and I
that's what
don't
that
even
was.
remember the name of that one.
What the fuck happened?
It was something like that. It was something along those lines. But yeah,
I had looked at it earlier.
Yeah, it was, that one was fun. And that one was entertaining because I remember I'm always grateful for my Marines because they send me the most fucked up stories. So it'd be like, hey, do you guys have any random sex stories? And be like, well, I'm like, I did not ask the right group this question.
They send you pick one.
Yeah, it was pretty much a choose your own adventure. It's so much fun.
So Reckless Nerd. Mm-hmm. You are a pretty self-proclaimed nerd.
I am pretty nerdy.
Yeah. You've even performed at like anime conventions and cool shit like that.
That was so much fun. Like,
Tell me about that.
So Eric Bell, who is a comic out of Vegas, who's hilarious. And he's just he's another good. I'm all for surrounding my people with myself with people that are very funny, but just good people. Like, because I've surrounded myself with the funny ones, but they're dicks, and you're like, that's not as fun.
Yeah.
But Eric, he has been working with the anime convention, and so he's done a bunch of shows with them. So when he comes out here, he was like, do you want to do this? And I was like, yeah. So the first time I did it, he's like, I want you to host and you need to do a raffle. So can you come up with nerdy trivia?
Tight.
And I'm like, okay. So I'm like on the spot, like coming up with nerdy trivia. So it was the best thing is because at one point I look at the audience and I'm like, okay, the first 2 people that can show me a Pokeball, you're coming up and competing for trivia. Nobody had a Pokeball at an anime convention. It was like somebody that was like called somebody inside the convention that was like running out with a keychain on their backpack that was like, I have one. And then another girl was like dressed up as Pikachu, so she had a little Pokeball. And I'm like, perfect. But I was like, I thought that would for sure bring more people up at an anime
Bunch
convention.
of fake nerds
I'm like,
over
what
here.
in
What
the heck? Just Dragon Slayer. Okay.
I know that's the whole thing right now.
Which I don't know new anime, which that made me feel bad.
It's Demon Slayer. And it's the big one.
I know my students keep telling me that I need to watch some Korean anime.
I look at Connor and well, what is it?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't really watch too much modern anime. Well, that's probably a lie.
Wait, what was your anime then?
My anime?
Yeah.
Like my favorite anime?
Yes.
Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I like Attack on Titan.
Okay. I haven't seen that much of that one.
Big fan. And I like Full Metal Alchemist.
I love Full Metal Alchemist. That one was a really good one.
Those are my top 2.
Let me see. So Full Metal Alchemist was definitely one of mine. I really liked Inuyasha.
Inuyasha is good.
That was a really fun one. But Initial D is the one that kind of got me into looking at anime because it was I started playing the video game.
Okay, cool.
And you remember when you get the cards, and so you'd get to go and like take, because there used to be an arcade in La Puente, and so you would go over there and like keep our cars like super revved, and then
it's hard for people to get into
one.
Initial D nowadays because it's really old and the animation is kind of, some people would say, terrible.
Oh no, it's not great. It's not great.
It's like a Tokyo Drift kind of anime. It's a really old one, but it's really good. It's really good.
It's a fun story.
It's fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a pizza delivery who's just natural at drifting. Like, obviously, that's your go-to hero.
I actually read the manga. It was really, really good.
I did that one too, actually. Yeah. That was one that kind of was like where I just really felt I liked working on cars when I was in high school, so that fit right along with
it's
everything.
So far out of my realm because I don't care about cars like whatsoever.
But the story's solid.
But it was cool. I liked it. And I don't like Tokyo Drift. I don't like the Fast and Furious movies that much, but
yeah,
I loved that. Yeah.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's one of those things because like there's certain stuff, if the story's good enough, it can cross a genre, and then there's other ones where you're like, you shouldn't have even been in the genre you started in. Like, No. But
now
no,
I
that's a
get
fun
what you
one.
mean by when you said I kept my card revved up.
Wait, which card were you talking about?
You said I was just like, what kind of anime is this? But now I get it.
Oh, you went and looked it up?
Yeah, I did.
So yeah, you would get a car, and so you would get your like, oh my gosh, I just completely forgot what his car was. It was not a Supra, Skyline. He had a Skyline, wasn't it?
I can't remember. You're probably
Oh my
better
gosh,
than
I'm just
that.
naming cars that start with S.
Do you actually know how to work on cars?
Not new cars, but yeah, I did an auto shop class when I was in college because I used to like to drive really far, and my dad was like, you need to at least learn how to change a tire if you're 5 hours away.
Yeah,
so,
for real.
Okay, on board. Took an auto shop class. Yeah, and then so I bought a 67 Bug with like babysitting money and like just
Sick.
worked on it with my uncle like when I was like 13. So I couldn't even drive the car that I was working on.
Aw.
But it was just like my uncle, I think he needed to get through some issues, so that's what we did.
Did you ever get a chance to drive it? Like, did you work on it to completion?
I did get to drive it once, and then he like took it, and we don't talk to that uncle anymore.
Oh,
Not because
one
it
of
like
those.
yeah, it's one of those.
Because he stole your car.
Well, he stole
kidding.
a lot of stuff. There was issues.
When you work an anime convention like that, are you telling anime jokes?
I wish I got to work like Comic-Con or something like that, because my nerd is definitely much more going into like video games and comic books. Like my uncle used to have a booth at Frankensons, and so I used to go help him there, and he paid me in comic books and cards.
I'm selling Pokemon cards there. Like,
oh really?
I don't have a booth or anything like that, but I go and sell to the vendors and stuff.
I love it there. I just took my kids the other day, and they're like skipping through the aisles, like looking at everything.
Cool. Frankensons is such a cool
place.
place.
That store that you said Chantel and I would really like, right?
Yeah, it's like a giant. It's like if you went to Little Tokyo and went to one of the stores in Little Tokyo, it's like one of those stores, but like it's the whole entire
it's a warehouse
place. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
That's tight.
And yeah, but so I used to help them when we were at the previous warehouse.
Okay, cool.
So not this one that they're at now.
The one in City of Industry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great ramen out there.
I've heard.
Koppen ramen.
So good. I like. I don't even know how to. I'll look it up because I'm gonna fuck up the name and I'm just gonna show it to you.
Okay. Yeah, so Koppen ramen is out there, and I love it. So good.
How do you spell that one?
Koppen. I might be missing like a letter or 5.
You know there's Slurpin' Ramen Bar out there. I think it's a chain, but that place is pretty good.
I'm gonna have to go try it.
It's pretty good.
I like the name.
You're like, the name had me sold, even though the food sucks.
I see Koppen Ramen right here. Oh my God, is my ramen place closed?
Did I just make you sad on accident?
No, you didn't.
Okay, good. We have to find more food. Okay, good.
I think it's called Sujita.
Okay. I'm going to have to go try it.
Yeah. Do you like ramen a lot?
Oh, I love ramen.
Try Slurpin'. Slurpin's fire.
Okay. I'm going to have to. I love ramen. I don't like pho.
I say Slurpin', he giggles. You say the littles.
Done.
I giggle.
I love that.
What are we going to say that makes her giggle?
Yeah, we have to find my giggle word.
We'll find it.
I don't know if I want to say giggle word.
Are you the type of person that laughs at like farts?
Not. It depends. I laugh at some farts. I do.
I love farts.
Okay.
I love them. I get that
random.
from my mom. That's the first time that we've asked a guest about farts, I guess.
You know, I appreciate that being the first.
He said I get that from my mom.
My mom will die laughing over just a fart.
My nephew loves farts, so he's 8, and so he is at the age of and so my son will feed into it, and then I'll be I accidentally showed him that Amazon you can be like, Alexa, play farts, and then it will just do that.
You can do that
randomly for 2 hours. It's just playing farts, and it's this was a squeezy one, and this was a this, and it names them.
Plays
and they're
different ones. It's this was a ketchupy fart.
Yes, it's the names actually are really funny. Now then you hear it in the wild, and you're like, oh, that was a ketchupy fart.
Is that a real fart?
Yeah.
Yes, you're gonna go look up ketchupy fart.
Yeah. I'll look it up right now.
Yeah, but you can. So we did that. There was fart jokes. I'm so excited.
You had to flip the mic around so we could hear it. That's horrendous.
Now you know what a ketchupy fart is. This was a learning experience.
Was that it?
That was a ketchup bottle.
So it's a ketchup bottle, an empty ketchup bottle.
You're just gonna hear that now in the wild and be like, nailed it.
Ketchup.
I'm just gonna play it one more time when you guys aren't expecting.
He's gonna play it randomly for other people.
I'm all when you guys aren't expecting. You guys see me.
You're like, I wonder what's happening now. Oh my god.
I remember when I was younger, my uncle bought a fart machine, and it's like now that we're talking about it, I was like maybe 9, so that was like what 20 years ago now. And what I'm tripping out about, I'm like, it was so much harder to order shit online, Like the effort he probably went through to buy that.
Actually, then to get a fart machine, they sold it at Toys R Us.
Did they?
They had a couple. They had the big one, and then they had. Why do I know this? This should not be like random information that's just at the ready.
I was getting farts.
Yeah, my nephews, but I spent.
You
too much
had
time
like
with
the
them.
jacket
But
full, and it was whoopee cushions.
So no, but there was one. It looked like it was a keychain. I remember this one vividly. I think my brother had it, and it looked like a whoopee cushion. And then you had like the little buttons around it that played different types of farts. And then you could even like, I think there was like a record button where you could record your own fart. Like I don't know why this is at the ready. I'm really disappointed at myself.
Your brother had a fart machine?
I don't know.
Your gay brother?
It might have been my father's. Now that you say that,
I was gonna say the gay brother makes sense.
We had a fart machine. Like we had one at my house, and I played with it until the batteries died, and we lost it one day. But yeah, I would just hide it around the house and just be hitting the button all day.
Were you a whoopee cushion kid?
not really. I was just kind of like, go to my room and like leave me alone. But if I interacted, I would be like, all right, this is what we're doing. Like. But yeah, no, I'm not really. My daughter's a huge whoopee cushion kid. Like she is a prank kid and drives me insane. Like she was like, for my birthday, just give me saran wrap, and I'm like, I am at no point just giving you saran wrap. And she's like,
oh, you should take her like toilet papering. I've never.
Do you want to take my daughter toilet papering?
It would be both of our first times. We'll probably get caught. I've never toilet papered anybody.
You know what? Just make me your emergency contact, and I'll just pick you guys up at the same time.
Who would you guys toilet
You have
paper?
to call our mom. That's what I'll say.
Probably not the first comic to call me a mom.
No, but I'm like, if I'm toilet papering with your kid, I'm gonna make you take responsibility
no, I'm fine
for
with
me.
it, but also probably not the first time I've had to pick a comic up from jail either. So that'd be fine. Like I'm on board.
Take us to jail if we got caught.
They
I
probably
don't
not.
know what the charges are. I mean,
They would probably just look at you and be like, "Really?
I'm 13.
Clean it up." They would just be like, "Just can you clean it up before? You guys can't use Frosted Flakes. You guys can't use shaving cream. You're limited to toilet paper.
To destroy the lawn. None of that stuff.
That's so crazy, dude. It's funny. Like my neighbors growing up, they would go to the river. Like Memorial Day, Labor Day, like any long weekend or whatever. And every long weekend they'd go to the river. The second day they'd get toilet papered. And then I'd wake up to in the morning and my mom would make me go clean their house.
So wait, you've never toilet papered, but you've anti-toilet papered?
I've cleaned someone's toilet. Yeah. Because she was always worried that the sprinklers would make it harder for them to clean up.
Oh, it does.
That's what she said. She's like, 2 more days, it's going to be horrible. She's like, go clean it up for them. And I'm like, can you guys just stop having people hate you? Because it lasted like the sister that's my age, the younger sister, and then even like the baby sister started getting toilet papered.
Oh my god!
It's just it was just the house of the neighborhood.
Have you toilet papered?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Did you get caught?
No.
Caught?
No.
I have a few times, but never got. My mom drove me once. So yeah, I have to drive I could drive you and my daughter. It's a tradition.
Fuck it, I'll go.
You're like I'm on board. So
let's go.
I can't have a full car.
Would you condone egging?
I prefer toilet paper to egging.
Okay, cool.
I'm okay with like reckless. I tell my kids, I'm like, you can be reckless, but you're not free from consequence.
Yeah,
so if you do something like that's super outside the realm of like crazy, yeah, it's gonna suck for you. Like even like my daughter has done things, and I'm like, you know, you're gonna have a punishment for that, right? And she goes, yeah, and I'm like, all right, cool. As long as you're on, like, don't fight the consequence. That's my only thing.
Are you a very practical mom?
I think so. I think for the most part, like they have a lot of freedom, as long as they have good grades and don't get into trouble. Like,
Cool.
I'm pretty lax with even like content that they have access to. Like I kind of cater it. Like they know like what they can't.
You let them watch porn.
I mean, obviously. No. I've joked about this. Like, I watch porn incognito window so that it doesn't come up, like, as a possible in the history.
Yeah.
So, like, at one time I accidentally realized I was watching in the regular window and I was like, shit, like, erase all my history ever of everything that's ever existed. No, so, like...
You blame it on your son.
I'm like,
You're like, hey!
11-year-old, stop watching porn. No, it's just I like, so I actually, my kids have learned like where they can go to look up ratings. Oh no, you're never apologize for laughing.
My niece is 11. I just imagined.
You're like, they're the worst. Like, the thing is, it's like, so I remember one time me and my sister were looking at our kids and we're like, okay, if our kids got into legal trouble, what kind of legal trouble are any of them getting into? And so we're like going through this and we're like, oh, if it's my son, it's probably drug related. Like, because he's my hippie kid. My sister looked at my nephew and like,
He'll
oh, that
say
one's
yes.
public nudity.
Yeah.
My niece, it would probably be fighting. Like, and she's 5 right now, but that kid's a brawler. But my daughter, we're like, it would probably be for protesting something somewhere and trying to shut a company down.
Yeah.
Like,
Is she pretty like knowledgeable on the current events and stuff going on right now in the world?
Yeah, she pretty much. And it was interesting is because like I've always taken the stance, and I did this with my students and my kids, like, you don't know my political opinion.
Yeah.
My job is to teach you how to think critically, not to teach you how to regurgitate my own thoughts.
Yeah.
So it was funny, like my daughter would come back and be like, I think I believe this. And I was like, okay, what's your values on this system? So she'd be like this. And I was like, okay, just so you know, your values align with this. And even if it doesn't align with my own values, I want her to know like that she's able to have opinions and things like that and think critically.
I was going to ask if she's passionate about the same things you're passionate about.
No, not at all. Well, okay, so then maybe there's some crossover. So like her big passions are animal rights. Like that's like her and environment right now. Like that's where she's kind of focused on, and I love it. Mine are definitely, I'm a huge advocate of weed being legal because I think for majority of people, it's super helpful.
Yeah.
And if we ruin the stigma, I think it's super important. And my kids know my stance on that as well.
Yeah.
My other big thing is censorship. So I'm very anti-book banning and censorship across the board. I feel like that's something that should be done per home along the board. And she does care about that because I've given her a lot of leeway, and we've talked about the fact that she does have so my kids, there's a website that you can go to called Common Sense Media, and you can type in any book, movie, or video game, and it'll tell you like a genuine rating of it. Like, oh, on a scale for violence, it's on this scale 1 through 5. For sex scenes, it's on a scale of this. For drugs, it's on a scale and for positive messages, like here's this. And I think it allows parents to pick they let their kids see, as opposed to letting somebody else. Because I'm like, you'll go to see a movie and you're like, that didn't feel PG-13. Yeah. And the 13-year-old's right here.
Yeah.
So both my kids know to go look up stuff, and they'll even come and be like, okay, well, it says this. It says it's for 15-year-olds, but here's like the reasons why. And so they both have gotten pretty good.
Okay, that's very neat. I'm going to look that up. Common Sense Media.
Yeah. So I'm big on information and access to it, but I think you should have access to what you can handle.
Yeah.
So.
For sure, because that's a big thing. A lot of people are on overload right now because they're just getting so much information they just can't handle.
So there's so much and so much wrong information and contradictory information and information that I feel like inspires so much hate and ignorance at the same time. So it's so overwhelming when you look at all of that right now.
And you're also a writer.
I am not. So I wrote a book. I'm working on shopping it right now to literary agents.
Sick.
But it's a middle grade fantasy book.
That's tight.
So
writing a book, the way that you say it, you're like, oh, I wrote a book. Like that's something easy to do. Like I wrote a book.
I did it during it's a NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month, and the goal is to write a novel within a month. And I did it. Like I barely made it by like 11:55 the night that you're supposed to be done.
What constitutes a novel? Is there like parameters that they set? Like it has to be
different parameters. So they'll say like, and you set your goal. So like middle grade, it's not going to have the same amount of pages as somebody somebody who's writing like for an adult book or
Yeah.
young or even YA. So like my goal was going to be smaller.
Cool.
And you can even do script writing. So somebody can write a script. If you're saying like, hey, my goal is to finish this entire script in this month, then that's your goal, and you're allowed to do that. But it's kind of a fun goal. I enjoyed really doing it. But now that I finished that book, I've been in the process of building the world even further so that I can expand it for this sequel. So the goal is for there to be 3 for that series.
Is that difficult? Like creating a complex, multi-layered universe all between your 2 ears and
It
putting it out?
is. I tend to like reach out to the people that I'm closest to and being like, hey, so if you thought that this world did it, and like kind of rattle it off. I do a lot to my daughter. My daughter gets a lot of my crazy, but she's an avid reader also. So
Very
it makes
cool.
it easy to being like, hey, if you were to see this in a book, how would you feel about it? And
Yeah.
stuff like that. And that makes it kind of easier, especially because she's closer to the age demographic that I was writing for.
Heck yeah, that's cool. Is there anything you would compare it to, like fantasy wise?
It's probably similar to kind of when you get into like the Bridge to Terabithia, or even into oh my gosh, I just blanked on it. It was like the owls. Why did I just blank?
Narnia. No.
Narnia has definitely been in that realm too. So
Well,
it is
it's so
definitely
similar.
it's the Bridge to Terabithia.
Yeah.
Then you get into those ones, but yeah, so it's in that like that fantasy dealing with magic, which was a lot of fun because I started researching.
Yeah.
I'm a horrible insomniac, so like 2 a.m. research is like a big part of my life. So getting to research kind of more occult, like things that you don't like, that you want to like not be offensive.
Yeah.
And like the hardest part is like writing for an age demographic that really doesn't have any identifications, and you want to make sure that you're inclusive and not like, so it's been kind of fun and kind of figuring that out and
Yeah.
looking up the statistics for that age range.
Do you feel like you're getting to know yourself more as an artist, venturing out into, because to compare comedy writing to novel writing is like you're only writing a little bite at a time.
Yeah.
Versus this one, you're, like I said, like you're literally creating a whole universe,
Yeah. It's
layered everything.
They're very different. Like they have to come like, and I like to create in every aspect of my life. So I'm painting all the time.
I was going to ask about that too. I was on your website earlier. Yeah.
When you saw me like my doodles. Like,
Yeah.
Now I'm working on a
The
new
skateboard?
series.
That's cool.
But dude, that skateboard was fun. It was a skateboard that I gave to somebody and then they broke it and they're like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah. I'll paint it.
I'm like, we're good. And then I'm doing a series right now of like pothead like hangouts. So like the first one looked like it was Gur from Invader Zim, BB-8, and who was the other? Oh, and Bender. Like looking like they're smoking, using like the pipe that Bender uses with like electricity and stuff
okay.
like that. So that was kind of fun to do. Right now I'm doing one and it's all like the video game sidekicks. So it's like going to be Luigi and Sonic, and I'm trying to figure out, I was thinking maybe doing like one of Inky or Blinky, adding them in and making them all look like they're smoking out together.
Is this painting or?
It's acrylics.
Sick.
So it's kind of fun. The only thing I won't ever paint with is oils. I don't understand them. They don't make sense.
So, gosh, you wear several different hats,
Yeah.
my friend.
Yeah. I don't say no. It's a really bad habit.
Of all the ways you express yourself, do you have one that you would say is your favorite?
Writing.
Writing.
Yeah. Writing in any capacity, honestly. Like, because I've worked on some scripts and things like that.
Excuse me.
Good. And so I worked on scripts, things like that. And I've just always enjoyed writing. I liked the solitaire point of it because, like I said, I have stage fright. So that, like, in comedy, my least favorite part is being on stage.
Yeah.
I like the before stage and I like the after stage sometimes.
Writing and refining.
Yeah, that kind of figuring out, but then also seeing how a joke has landed with somebody. Like I've gotten off stage and like there was one night I wanted to quit comedy and I ended up going somewhere else, and there was a KJ and she was like, hey, I need to reset my equipment. Can you do some time? And I'm like, dude, everybody over there is a comic. Go get anybody else to do comedy tonight. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm quitting. Like, F this. I don't ever want to do it again. She's like, dude, no, just get up. And I'm like, fine. Because, again, horrible at saying no. So I go up. I do the time. It was in MTL in Riverside, which is not a quiet bar. There's pool tables, things like that. The guys stopped playing pool, came over, listened. There was one girl who was like in the back of the crowd who slowly made her way up all the way to the stage. And I just remember after I got off and she came up and she was like in tears. And I'm like, oh, I said something I shouldn't have. Like, I'm freaking out.
You thought
like,
you hurt her feelings?
I was like, I'm sorry. Like, do I need to buy you alcohol? I have weed. What do you need? And she came up to me and she was like, oh my gosh, I've been dealing with cancer and I have jokes about cancer. And she was like, I haven't been able to laugh about that. She's like, it felt so good to be able to laugh about it. She's like, because I've just been dreading it for months.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's why I remember why I do it. It's having the jokes that are hard to palate, that make somebody want to talk about something, or even just make you not feel as bad about it for a few seconds.
Those are the jokes that I was referencing in the beginning. The ones that it's you take these things that are hardships and you look at them in such a deconstructive way that allows someone who isn't a part of it to understand and then see your perspective, which it's beautiful what you do.
Aw, thank you. As I said, that's like something the coolest compliment that I get ever accept because I get, like, as you can see, it's like the point of why I even want
why you continue doing it.
Yes. So it's even when it gets hard, and like there was like even like I just had something bad happen, and I remember messaging Paul Antonio, being like, "Hey, do you think I can actually make a rape joke funny?" And he just writes back and he's like, "What's the context?" And I'm like, "I'll get it back to you later." Like, that's just the whole response. And I was just like, and he just goes, "Do I need to worry?" And I was just like, "No, we're good."
Here, I'd be out here doing it.
You're like, but I was just like, I just need to know, like, I just need to not piss somebody off, but I need to be, like, there's things you need to be able to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
Getting, like, I've talked about getting dick pics that I don't want on stage because I don't want them and I get them. And then I do, like, people would go home and they'll be like, you know what she wants right now? Dick pic. No, I never do. Like, the amount of times I've been like, and I will send this to the police department. Oh, your area code is this. Cool. In your area. And they're like, please. So please don't. Just across the board. Don't want them. Unless I ask. Like, then then it's consensual dick pics. So then I'm cool. But
you're hilarious. You're not asking on stage.
I'm not asking on stage. No. Don't ever be like, I've had somebody being like, I'm a huge fan, and it's like, but you're not that huge. So it's like, dude, settle.
Wait, that's what they wrote with the
I had somebody
pic?
do that one time. Yeah. I've had it from comics, which that's always funny when like, especially when a comic then has something upcoming after, and you're just like, and they're like, do you think he did it? And you're like, well, it's not outside the realm of possibility because he just sends that shit everywhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was always fun. I think I just posted up something because I got a bunch of messages from somebody while they were asking me to book them and started like...
Yeah, no one sends me shit like that because it'd be gay.
You know what sucks is, okay, so I'm bi, but I never get hit on by girls. Like, It's why I date guys so much. It's because I'm so, like, I don't realize you have to be like, I want to see you naked. And then be like, oh, okay, cool, we're on the same page, or we're not. But girls don't do that. Like, I've only dated a few girls.
They'll do that.
I have not gotten that. Okay, twice. I've had that twice.
See, it happens.
Just saying it. I preferred that so much more.
She said, now, ladies.
Like, it's just an anxiety thing. That's why. No, but I mean, I have a boyfriend right now, so I can't. At the moment, so that kind of gets in the way.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm like, if you want to, you have to put yourself in the proper spaces.
See, that's what I'm not good at.
Yeah, unless you're like very like blatantly gay, biceps, short fingernails. You know what I mean? I've
had that happen. I went on a date one time with a girl and I was at a wedding.
Yeah.
And I had because I was in the wedding, the bride was like, I want you to have nails. And I'm like, okay. So I go on the date and she goes, And I'm like, okay, I promise there's a reason.
Yeah, see, that's like a big red flag. Long nails,
like,
no.
I didn't have a say. I was in the wedding.
It either says not gay or pillow princess.
Which I'm fine with that too. I've done a lot of taking care of people, so
I'll take care of you.
You're like, you can be reciprocated. It's okay.
It's always such a funny thing. Like, I'm so afraid of dating. If Chantel ever leaves me, I'm joining a monastery. I'm gonna raise golden retrievers in Wyoming. Just like there's something else out there for me. I'm just gonna stop.
I think it's funny because that's a sign that you're in a good relationship when you're like, I can't see this outside of that. Because when you're in a bad relationship, you're like, this could go away. And be okay. It'd be fine. Like, there's people where I've looked at and you're
other
like,
people out there.
How are you still here? That's my favorite when you're like, well, you have good weed. Like, okay, that makes sense. Like, I'm on board. Like,
oh my God, sometimes I'll meet people and I'll be like, who loves you? I guess. What?
But have you ever said it out loud to somebody? Because I've done
Once.
that. Okay. Okay. How did you say
He was
that?
heckling me. And he was like, I got daughters. And I was like, who loves you? Like,
Oh my God.
but it was a genuine question. Because, like, if that was my father, I'd be like, oh my God.
See, okay, so mine was way more assholey because, like, that makes sense. You should tell hecklers who loves you. Like, that, like, they deserve that. I had an ex one time that was in this moment. He blocked my car, and we were exes at this point. He blocked my car, and so I couldn't leave. And I'm like, dude, not feeling safe. And his mom calls at this, or no, what happened? He said something, and at one point he goes, oh, yeah, well, your family starts talking shit about my family, starts talking shit about my kids. Of in which I'm like, no. My favorite thing is this person, I had been around their mom, and their mom had been like, yeah, well, have you ever regret having your kids? And I went, what? Do you ever regret having your kids? And I was like, no. She goes, I do sometimes. And I went, so I'm sitting here, he's blocked me in, and he starts talking shit about my family. I just remember being like, oh, at least my parents don't regret me, and they had me in high school, and that says something. And he went, what? And I went, oh, yeah, because your mom regrets you. Just being like, can you let me go now? Like there's no love between us. Like, I just want to not be here. Like, I was just trying to be like, just anything to get him to leave. This motherfucker calls his mom. Goes, Mom, on speakerphone, did you ever tell Steph that that you regret having me? No, Mijo, she's toxic. And I'm like, I'm toxic. I'm toxic. You need to leave. Like, you should go. See, your mom agrees. I'm toxic. And I'm just like,
lying bitch.
like, carry on. Like, she's telling you that you should leave me too.
So like, your mom regrets you, and she's a lying bitch.
Oh my gosh, I saw her at a show recently, and it was funny because it was one of those of like nightmares. Okay, we're back, and you're like, and we're moving on.
You're like, whoa, there's a lying bitch in the crowd.
Well, the best thing is that night I was actually going to do a joke about the guy that it was with, and I was like, and then I saw her, and I was like, I didn't recognize her on the bat, but I was like, I'm averting away from this joke.
Oh my God, that would have been a trauma dump for me, dude. I'd been like, you fucking threw me under the bus. You couldn't take responsibility for the shitty thing you said.
I was okay with it because I was like, if at the end of the day you think I'm a liar, cool, go.
Leave me. All the more reason.
More reason we don't work together. Like, just being like, no. So yeah, I was up for whatever she was down to say at that point.
Did she approach you after the show?
No. Oh, she came up and she like gave me a side hug.
Did you refer to yourself as toxic during your set?
No, but I should.
That would have been so silly.
There's probably more than one person that think I'm toxic, to be that one and my ex-husband. But I mean, we were married. There was paperwork involved. I should be toxic to him.
You had to do legal shit to get rid of that one.
Like, to get in and to get out. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah, no, screw that. At what point in your life, if you don't mind talking about it, at what point in your life were you diagnosed with cancer?
This was only a few years ago. Oh. So I had already, so the day I got diagnosed, I actually had a show at the Hideaway that night. So I remember I call my mom and I'm going through this, and I remember being on the phone with her and being like, I think I still need to do the show. And she went, are you sure? And I was like, I can't be home right now. Because I didn't to just get your mind off of it. I went home. I like made dinner for my kids really quick, but I didn't want them to see me in this like air of confusion. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. So I remember I get to the show. The only person I remember being on the show is Mike James, because that whole day is a blur. Well, my cousin came and she brought me a stuffed animal, and I still have that stuffed animal of a narwhal. My favorite.
I love it.
But Mike James is there. So I go up to him and he goes, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, I've been better. And he goes like, oh, what's going on? And I was like, oh, I just got diagnosed with cancer. And he goes, wait, what? And like, this is as they're getting ready to start doing my intro on stage. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll talk to you in a second. And I go and I leave Mike James and I walk on stage and I start my set. And I did a joke about cancer that day because I was like, so I have cancer in my throat, like, so it's thyroid cancer. So instantly I was like, well, my blowjob game is now going to be for shit. Like, you can't have throat cancer and be single. Like, this is bullshit. Like, so, but I just remember because, like, I get off stage and Mike James is like, was it really today? And I was like, yeah, like 7 hours ago. Yeah, we're in this place. And
that's a good joke.
Like, that was like 100%. So yeah, like, even I did Mike's podcast, and that was the one thing he's like, that was the craziest thing to me. Because you're like, yeah, no, I just found out. Okay, bye. And like ran up on stage, and
Well, way to define your coping mechanism, right?
Yeah, I'm like, that is who I am. I think at a core
Yeah.
level, I was like, you know what? Fuck it.
Humor's your defense.
I'm gonna laugh before I cry. I'll cry while I'm laughing. I've done it on stage. I'm not opposed. I'm like,
Is it cathartic?
I don't like crying. I hate how easy it is for me to cry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I cry a lot. I cry a lot.
Do you cry in commercials?
No.
Oh no, yeah, like I can cry in a 30-second commercial. Like I will get emotionally invested.
I'll cry like singing a song.
What? Okay, wait. Okay, my niece does this thing where she'll go to the Alexa and she'll be like, "Play a sad song. I just need to cry." What would be your go-to sad song?
If I'm gonna cry, I just need a throwback song. So give me like Angels and Airwaves, Blink 182,
Okay.
and if I'm belting, I'll cry.
Okay,
If I belt, I cry. I'll cry during System of a Down if I'm belting hard enough.
fair. Is that cathartic? I want to see this so bad now.
Let's go drive. Let's go drive. That's it. Usher, I'll cry. Just if I'm if I'm belting, I'll cry.
I love that. You're like, how did we know we were good friends? We'd sang System of a Down and cried together. You're like, that's
It'll
how
be
you make
perfect.
friendship.
We cried together to Psycho.
You're like, that'd be amazing. Oh my gosh.
Do you do that?
No, I'm not a big singer.
Oh, okay.
I always have, okay, so I say that. I always have like random songs playing in my head, like at any given time. And so every now and then, like I will like, my friend Lily will call it like me panic singing.
Okay.
Or like I just start panic humming.
We hear the soundtrack of your life just peep through real
like,
quick.
I'll be like, for some reason, for like an entire year, whenever I was like having to parallel park, my go-to song was like the Three's Company. So I would be like parallel parking, being like Three's Company. Like I have no idea why that was what happened.
It's your lucky song.
I have a part-time job at Disneyland, so I only work there like 1 or 2 nights a week. And I was like, had my shift the other night, and the entire 4-hour shift.
Fucking tight.
Yeah, because I wanted to sign my kids into Disneyland and not have to pay. Life hack. That's how
That's
that works.
fucking tight.
But so I'm doing my whole 4-hour shift, and the entire 4-hour shift, I have "This Is My Birthday Song." It isn't very long. Hey, and so I'm just walking around, and I'm just doing something, and I just clap, and my coworker's she's like, "Is it playing again?" I was like, "Yep, yes it is. Yes it is." Like,
What do you do at Disney?
I work in some of the stores in Adventureland and Frontierland.
So you have cute outfits.
One of them I think is cute.
Yeah, the Frontierland one.
The Adventureland one.
Okay.
I like the Adventureland one. It seems much more because it's like just a white shirt and like the brown gauchos.
Oh, okay.
The Frontierland one is a blue like peasant skirt and like it's
Skirts.
It's not, and we have to wear black leggings and black shoes with everything. So that part I don't like, but I love working there. It's been a lot of fun.
I've always said that if I worked at Disneyland, I would be on Big Thunder Mountain for the outfits. Their outfits are cute.
So it's not the first time I've worked at Disney, though. I've worked there 2 other times.
Like, you should be the skipper on Jungle Cruise, girl. Come on.
One of the skippers the other day was doing that. He's like, "Do you want to be a skipper?" And I was like, "I think I had to pass my probation before I can even apply." But like when I worked there, like right out of high school, I worked in like outdoor vending. So I sold like churros and popcorn and all like the carts. And then when I was finishing school, I was working there, and I was working in the phone center, and that was a blast because I got to go in regular clothes. But at that time, you still couldn't have tattoos, so I had to have my tattoos covered.
Yeah.
And part of my hair was like blue or green or purple at any given time, so I'd have to be like in a bun. So I would like leave work, take my jacket off, and take my hair out of a bun, and my like security guards would be like, "None of that's in regulations." It's like, no, like there's a lot of tattoos.
Surprise.
It's like, this is the most awkward surprise ever.
For real. That's hilarious. Tell us, girl, do you have any shows coming up?
I do. On the 19th, I'll be at Bastard's Canteen in Temecula with COC. I just got a message for another one like a little bit ago, but I don't remember the date. And then I'm going to be doing the roast battle up in Temecula also in November 20th, that Saturday. The 25th, I think.
Cool. And tell the people where they can find you, girl.
So on Instagram, it is _ Steph Michele, and it's STEFMICHELE because I had to make it difficult.
And we'll put it there.
Yes. Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
Same.
Any final notes, Con?
No, thank you.
Hell yeah.
Thanks.
Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Bye.